5,000 overall responses from our community on that. So you look at the first one, provide a safe and secure environment for our members and guests. 98% of us agreed with that. We're not going to be too worried about the 2% that didn't agree with that statement. I don't know. You can see most of these, the average is 98% on them, and Ken's going to spend quite a bit more time on that as he goes through how these relate to what we do as a board of directors, and Bob will also comment on that. So that continues the core values there. We also have them up on the posters in the front there. So again, my name is John Wedgeworth. I serve on the board of directors. Here today we also have Ken Fleur, the president of the board. We have Bob Weber, the general manager of the community club. And we have Mary Jo Page back here as our director of marketing. Thanks, Mary Jo, for setting this up for us. So at this time, I'm going to let Ken take over, and we'll go through his presentation. And we want this to be interactive. Wave your hand. We'll come with a microphone. Please ask your questions as we go through.
No, we're good. We're good. Okay, well, good afternoon and welcome back. You remember last week we started out and asked how many had come last week, and we had like 57 or so folks last week, and then at that point we only had 15 people that signed up for the board presentation, so we felt a little hurt and sad, but we've decided to go ahead and go forward with it anyways, and we're glad to see that more of you came back today than said you would last time. So John, let's move into the composition of the board. The board is 7 members, and all of the requirements regarding the board are all in the covenants and restrictions, so this is not something that we can make up or change as we go. So we've got a total of 7 members. 5 of the members are elected at large, meaning that all of you vote for those 5 members, and we have elections every year. One of the members of the board is a developer representative director, and that person is selected and basically appointed by the developer, who is Tom Anderson. And then we have one member of the board that is a timeshare representative, and we have 8 timeshare associations on property, and their executive council gets together and selects the representative that they would like to have on the board of directors. So that's how those 2 folks come on to the board and work with us. What I did for you is I put all the folks that are currently on the board onto the slides, and I'm going to kind of walk through each section of them so that you can see what happens over time. Bruce Cox, who's our current treasurer, and May, we ran for the board initially in September of 18, and we were elected, and so that 3-year term takes us through September of 21 this year. Okay. Earlier this year, we have a window where you can apply to run for the board. Only Bruce and I applied, and so when the window closes, then we automatically become re-elected or uncontested in the election. And the results of that get announced at the annual membership meeting in September. And so in September, Bruce and I will start our second 3-year term, and then we will finish in September of 2024. Jeannie Miller came on the board in September of 2017. She was appointed to the board to fill out the 2 years that were remaining on a board member that decided to resign, and so then she was appointed. So she filled out the 2-year term from 17 to 19, and then in 19, she was the only person that submitted an application to run, and so then she she was elected in an uncontested election, and she's good through September of 2022. Next year, she will come up. And now she has done both her initial term and a second term, so then she's term limited, and so in 2022, we will for sure have an election because her position will be open. John and Greg Jones came on last year in 2020, and so they're good through 2023. John, if you flip to the next one, there's Misty Galloway. She is serving a term from 19 to 22, and Barb Storr came on last year in 2020. She is filling the remaining term of a director who resigned due to health reasons, and so she now will have the opportunity to serve not only through 2022, but another 3-year term. And if you can recall now, you've got Misty and Barb that come off in 2022, and Jeannie Miller that comes off in 2022, and then there were 2 members that are good through 2023, and then 2 that are good through 2024. So typically we elect 2 new board members every year. There's an election for those, okay? And you're in a property owners association, and so every single property that is current on their dues gets to vote once for their particular property for the members that are running for the board. Okay, Jen, let's flip now, and I want to talk about some of the responsibilities and duties of the board. And we're going to talk about these in kind of large groupings of responsibilities. The first thing, though, that I would share with you is that remember the core value of the safe and secure environment. Safety, obviously, is the major concern of any membership organization, and we want to keep in mind that it's not only the members, but it's visitors, guests, and also our employees. Okay, so keeping them safe is a primary concern. It was especially front and center last year during 2020 when we had COVID and we went through the, do we stay open? Do we close? What restrictions do we put in place? So that was a year that was heavily focused on safety for everyone that was here in Fairfield Glade. The other thing from a safety standpoint is that we have our own private police force here. They are special deputies. They get their police powers from the county sheriff, and they are a CALEA accredited law enforcement agency. And today we heard that they have successfully gone through their accreditation process for the Tennessee accreditation as well. So they are now the 25th law enforcement agency in the state of Tennessee to be dually accredited. And there are over 600 agencies across the state of Tennessee. So these folks have spent a significant amount of time and effort making sure that they are, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. One of the big advantages for you as homeowners and members of the community club is that the amount of training and procedures that they follow is what protects us from liability claims. And when you see incidents with police officers in other cities and all that, typically if there's any litigation, it always go back to were they trained properly? Did they follow their procedures properly? Being both CALEA and Tennessee accredited helps us make sure that we have laid all the groundwork for that to protect us from liability. We are the major contributor to the fire department. There's a Fairfield Glade Volunteer Fire Department here. We are the major contributor to that, and they are a separate 501c3 entity, and so we provide money for their operations. They raise funds for their capital equipment and that sort of thing. And of course, just not too long ago, we had the pancake breakfast for them. They usually do that 3 times a year, and it generates income for them for their capital expenditures. When we look at really the rest of our responsibilities, they really fit in to the 2 categories, the strategic direction and planning. And you're going to hear this theme recurring as I talk about here, but every action that the board takes in the area of setting the future direction for the community club or developing future plans for the community club is rooted in our vision, our mission, and our core values. And if you remember from that, we talked about being a growing community and one that is looking to the future. And so the board is future-oriented as opposed to current operations, which is really the responsibility of the general manager and your staff, okay? So it's board that is focused on planning, and execution is really the general manager. The way that we do that from a board perspective is that we're constantly investing in the community through the facility maintenance of the existing facilities and then through the major capital projects that we have in the 5-year plan as we look to build a better community as we move forward. So vision was focused on a growing resort retirement community. Mission was focused on continually improving. And then as we look at the other core values that really fit into this, the friendly and respectful atmosphere, the maintaining the honesty, the integrity, and the transparency, the high quality amenities and services, managing our natural environment, maintaining the vibrant lifestyle that we have, and then maintaining strong government relationships along with acting in the best long-term interests of the community. That is the strategic direction focus for the board of directors. Then we look at the fiduciary responsibility and the oversight of that. And so the board of directors is ultimately responsible for the financial condition of the community club. The board has oversight responsibility to ensure that all of the accounting practices and everything that we do here are compliant with GAAP, which is the generally accepted accounting practices. And then the board is also responsible for creating and maintaining a culture of discipline, fiscal responsibility. And by that we're saying you ought to operate it as if you own it. Every dollar that we spend, you ought to think that it's your dollar that's being spent, because it's the membership dollars that we're spending here, and we need to use restraint and be focused on what we are spending our dollars on. And here again, when we look at those maintaining the community standards, the transparency associated with financial responsibilities, the community standards, and then sound financial management, and again, focusing on decisions that are in the best long-term interests of the community. And where we get some rub on that is that everybody has an idea of what they want. Whether or not that's consistent with what's good for the community as a whole and in the long-term interests of the community is where sometimes there will be a little bit of controversy over the decisions that the board makes. But the thing that I would stress to you is that really the fundamental difference between the board and the senior management team and the general manager is one of focus. Okay? The board is focused on the strategic direction, where we're going, and planning that is really focused on the future. The senior management team is responsible for implementing the strategic direction, and so their point is to turn the plans that have been laid into actions and to accomplish those objectives. And then the board is really concerned in attracting your replacements, okay? Our focus is the next generation of Fairfield Glade residents. The board is focused on how do we position the community club to be attractive to those who will replace you, okay? While the senior management team is focused on how do I take care of the concerns that the current residents have, okay? And so I hope that you see the difference between the two of those. You know, one is a long-term focus, the other is the operations in delivering on kind of the promise that you expected when you moved in here, okay? That is the senior management team and the staff. The board is focused on where do we go in the future. And after Bob has done his piece, I'm sure there's going to be questions about what thing fits, what issue or item fits where. And so as we go through the questions and answers today, I think we'll get to be able to talk about some specific issues and then talk about what's the board's responsibility for that issue and what is the senior management team's responsibility for that issue. And so we'll do that once we get to the questions and answer period.
Any questions so far? This is the contact information for the board of directors here, and I have a handout sheet if you'd like it, emails and phone numbers. So if you'd like to have a handout of that, it's also on our website. Just log in and go to admin and click on there, and you'll see all the board of directors listed. But I do have a handout sheet here. And next up we have. Oh, I'll go ahead and skip through it.
There we go. There we go. Hello, everybody. I'm Bob Weber, General Manager. Another thing to kind of emphasize what Ken said, what you can kind of look at it is your vision statement. That's really what the board is focused on. Your mission statement is what I and my team are focused on, because that mission statement is kind of more the daily activity. We always, want to improve on a daily basis. So that's what we really focus on as we go through our day-to-day operations of the community and what have you, where the board is really focused on that vision statement, which is more long-term, what have you. So, next slide. I have about 32 years experience in this industry, both with real estate developers, new communities, as well as property management of existing communities. So clearly, one of my jobs is to provide advice and recommendations to the board of directors as it relates to their role. So their role being strategic direction, policies. They're the ones that make policy for the community, not the GM, not the senior management team. When we look at policy, and that's really policy that impacts the community as a whole, that's more strategic in nature. Your property standards, your architectural control rules, things of that nature. As it relates to individual operations, for example, the hours of operation of the golf courses or the restaurants, that's going to be something that really is left up to senior management team. Myself working with the director of golf, director of food and beverage, etc. So one of my roles is definitely to provide advice and recommendations to the board, to help them in their deliberations with respect to policies and strategic planning, strategic direction for the community. But then the other role, as I say, is really the operations, and that's what I spend a lot of my time on. And of course, as my name implies, I'm the general manager. I'm a generalist. So have a lot of years' experience, but in different areas within community management, real estate development. So I really have to hire some strong people that have specific experience in their various areas in order to really run an operation like this. So, of course, one we mentioned, Mary Jo, Director of Marketing Events. Please stand up, Mary Jo, so they can see you. So Mary Jo is our Director of Marketing Events. So she handles all the marketing for the community, both external marketing as well as internal marketing. So a lot of the emails that you get with respect to upcoming events, the Friday, this week in Fairfield Glade E-Blast, that all comes out of Mary Jo's department. So we want to make sure that y'all are aware of everything that's going on in this community. So again, hopefully you can enjoy that resort lifestyle experience, what have you. All the events that we have, it's Mary Jo and her team that puts on these events. And again, those events are all designed to not only give y'all that resort lifestyle experience so y'all are having fun, hopefully you feel like I'm on vacation all the time, but also attracting new residents because we know, if they come in here, they're visiting, what have you, and they see something going on like Monday night Muir Lake Blast, that's a big positive for people. They want to be active in retirement. So it's not only the amenities that we have, golf, food and beverage, pickleball, tennis, but it's also all these events and everything. So Mary Jo and her team really handle that. So that's a specialty area that we hired Mary Jo for her talents and her experience to do that. But then we also have as Ken mentioned, we have a police department, so we have a chief of police. I have no experience with police departments whatsoever other than right here. And so I'm kind of been learning about police departments and what have you as I've been going along and having different police chiefs and everything. So Mike Williams is our chief of police. Director of Community Maintenance, they really, Sam McAdoo, he focuses on all the maintenance of the facilities. So not only the building maintenance, but also the grounds maintenance. So, and all the common areas. So common areas like the square, where we have various events like the Craft Festival. We were supposed to have the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue there, but got rained out. So we have a lot of events there. But that would be an area of, a common area, Robin Hood Park, things of that nature. So his responsibility is really make sure that the community is looking good and make sure that the facilities that we have, like the center, is well maintained. Director of Finance handles all of our finance and accounting. Manager of Food and Beverage, right now we have a food and beverage manager. Doesn't have the title of director yet because his primary focus, he was just hired, primary focus has been on the front of the house operation, so the servers, the hosts, the bussers, and what have you, as he really learns what's going on with the back of the house, the kitchen and what have you. But I would anticipate the goal is by first of next year, he will actually have the title of Director of Food and Beverage and be responsible for the whole operation at that point in time. And as our current executive chef, he's looking to retire and play golf. So Jamin will be taking over that whole operation. Director of Golf handles all of our golf courses and all those operations. So we not only have 5 golf courses, and so all the pros report to him, as well as all the superintendents that maintain the golf courses. They all report to Jeff Houston as well. So he handles that. Director of Human Resources, very important position because we're a service organization. So we need good people to provide great service to y'all. So Amber Black is our Director of Human Resources. So she's recruiting and does things to not only recruit good employees, but also retain good employees. And you've heard all the stories about shortages of employees, and we're seeing that as well, especially in our food and beverage operation. Had some issues in other areas where, people are just not wanting to, work in that industry, or they find better paying jobs elsewhere. So it's been tougher this year post-COVID than any year in the past. Director of Marketing, so we talked about Mary Jo and her role. Director of Racket Sports. When I first got here, that was primarily tennis. Pickleball was just starting here. It was strictly in the center, in the indoor courts here at the gym. Then we added outdoor pickleball courts a few years ago, and I think it was 2017, and pickleball has exploded now. And so William, not only he's a tennis pro, but now he also has his pickleball certification as well. Has an assistant pro that is a tennis pro, but he's also getting into pickleball as well. So they handle all of the racket sports in the community. Then we have our own sewer system. So we need to have somebody that manages that, because I don't know that much about sewer systems. What I know, this is the first community I've managed that had a sewer system, you know. So Bruce Evans is our director of sewer systems, so has done a great job for us. He came on board shortly before I did, and so he manages the sewer systems. And didn't mention his name, but William Taylor is our director of racket sports. So again, our primary role is really managing the operations on a day-in, day-out basis, so that we can help the board fulfill the mission statement, and then for us, definitely fulfill the vision statement, and then for us to really fulfill the mission statement of the community. So, any questions on that? That was a lot to cover. Okay, yes, sir.
Was the mission statement, the vision, when the racket courts were expanded based on the sports that were previously, rather than on the racquetball, or rather than the pickleball, which is taking over?
Well, when we looked at what we found was that pickleball was like the fastest growing sport among seniors in the nation. So when I got here, we had tennis, we had the 4 indoor courts, we had 4 outdoor clay courts, we had 2 hard courts, and then people were playing pickleball inside here at the center. But pickleball nationally is really an outdoor sport. And so we started looking at that and talking to the board, and saw that the emerging trends are pickleball is fast growing, so we really need to have outdoor pickleball courts. So that was the impetus for doing the 8 outdoor pickleball courts, and it's worked out great, and I think people are really enjoying them, what have you.
They were wishing there were more pickleball courts.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. They're a fast-growing group, so I'm sure they're going to be coming to us at some point in time, say we need more pickleball courts. So and we've got some long-range plans. We actually had a land planner do a plan for that whole area north of the Racket Center that included the 8 pickleball courts that we were going to install, and then how we would do future pickleball courts as well as tennis courts, hopefully as we grow and what have you. So yeah, we'll see over time. There will definitely be more pickleball courts, just a matter of what's the right time to do them. Any other questions for me? Or yes, sir.
I was just curious, when you do a project, pickleball courts, do you borrow money for that? Do you work there in cash?
That we were able to do cash. Yeah, so the only things that we borrowed money for in the past, we borrowed money to build this building back in 2008, and then we borrowed money to buy Stonehenge. Stonehenge actually was owned by Lynx Corporation, and I guess the developers sold it to them as opposed to the property owners way back when. It could be that the property owners didn't want it at that point in time. And then same time frame, 2007, 2008, they actually asked the community club if it wanted to buy Stonehenge from Lynx Corporation. And so they borrowed money to actually buy Stonehenge Golf Course and Clubhouse. So they had 2 major projects, or 2 major loans in 1 year, both around $6 million back in 2007, 2008. Now, here it is, 2021, we paid off the Stonehenge loan, and then the center loan will be paid off in April, May of 2022. So at that point in time, we'll be debt-free. And so most of the projects, and the 10 years I've been here, we've been able to do all the projects, all the improvements, just based on the capital fund coming in, not having to borrow any additional money. We actually have a line of credit out there for about $5 million right now. We've never had to tap into it. We've always been able to fund these improvements through just capital cash. Now, that's not to say that's going to always be the case. You know, when you start getting into some very large projects, like when they did the center, when they purchased Stonehenge, typically in those situations, you're probably going to have to borrow money to do that. So, other questions? Okay, I'll turn it over to
Here's a copy of Bob's contact and his senior team here, and I've got a handout if you'd like to have that also after the meeting. So, excuse me while we go backwards here. As Bob mentioned, he has to have a lot of help with his. The board of directors, we have to have a lot of help on our side too. And that's why we have committees here in Fairfield Glade. And all these committees, they report to the board of directors. There's our committees: architectural control, the election, environmental, financial advisory, food and beverage, golf, governmental relations, Lakes Committee, major capital projects committee, property standards, racquet sports committee, strategic planning committee, and trails committee. These committees are normally made up between 5 and 9 members who rotate on and off every year. And I happened to serve, before I came on the board, before I was elected to be on the board of directors, I served 2 years as the chairperson of the Property Standards Committee. And that is such a great opportunity to learn about our community, to serve on a committee. You really learn a lot about a community, how it works, what goes on. Now, these committees will bring stuff to the board. They might bring a suggestion to a policy change or whatever, but they cannot make that change. That change has to be made by the board of directors. They're simply an advisory to bring suggestions and policies to us to review. So, for instance, like the Architectural Control Committee, we talked about that last week, what their role is, what they do, what they approve. That is the only committee, though, that's ventured in our CNRs, is Architectural Control Committee. So that one stays. We can't change that one. The others we've added over the years for various reasons, but they all play a very important role here in getting information to the board of directors, because we can't do what these committees do on a daily basis. Most committees meet once a month. Some meet twice a month, depending on what they have going on. So it's a vital part to our community on these committees. Again, once you've been here for a while and you feel comfortable, I would suggest that perhaps when you see a notice go out, if you have a particular background in one of these committees, would certainly encourage you to step forward and become to serve on one of our advisory committees. Again, it is an eye-opener to what goes on in our community here. So qualifications, some committees will require a resume, as you can see there. Some committees require non-disclosure agreement because they're talking about confidential stuff in their meetings. That's no different than the board. We all sign an NDA in the board too. So those are pretty standard in the corporate world there. We just ask for it on the committees here. Each committee will look for something different in the qualifications. The length of the service normally is 3 years. However, you could fill a 1-year term. You could be filling a 2-year term. So it varies with the committees there. Normally the committees will interview prospects in August and September. The board of directors will vote for them in September, and then October, November, and December they may attend the committee meetings, but they can't vote. There'll be official committee meetings the first of the year in January. So that's kind of the time frame there on recruiting committee members. So if you've been here and you feel comfortable, please step up. There's a lot of committees there to be part of. One other question here before we go to that. Have any of y'all done the Welcome Home Survey? I see one hand back here. 2. I see a few hands. Good. Okay. That's good. Well, we had something there, Joe. Thank you. So we started that at the 1st of May, I believe it was. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting here. I just want to... thought I had it. Hang on. Too much paperwork. Sorry. I guess I misplaced that one. Yep, here we go. So since May, we've asked for newcomers here, and just a quick one here on the amenities the newcomers are looking at, okay? What they'll be using, what we're interested in. The number one amenity that most people are interested in, newcomers are interested in, is outdoor activities. Almost 75% said they would participate in that. So that's pretty strong there. And then the next highest was natural hiking trails at 67%, paved hiking trails at 62%, fitness at 58%, and then golf is at 51%. And then several others here, but they vary. They're pickleball at 33%, and the least, unfortunately here, I guess, is that they'll be participating in is tennis, only 7% on the tennis. So I guess that reflects on the pickleball growth. So anyway, if you've not had a chance to do that welcome home survey, I think, Mayor Joe, you're still sending those out to residents. It really helps us out here to gauge what amenities as a board, and Bob, that we need to be focused on. It really helps us here. This is really good information. So if you get a chance to do that welcome home survey, we would appreciate it. Let's see here. And this is the program going forward, and I've got a handout here if you'd like that. But next week we're going to do golf, so we'll probably have a good crowd for that one. And we're going to, the next several ones are dealing with some of Bob's key organizations there, like the wastewater and the community maintenance and marinas and racket sports. And then we're going to talk about the paved trails, the outdoor trails, the trails of Cumberland County and Wildwood Stables. And then we're going to have Cumberland County orientation. Ken has secured Mayor Foster to be here, County Mayor Foster to be here for that one. So that's a very good one to be part of. Then financial records, we'll go through the whole list there. Neighborhood Watch, Fire Department, Police Department. And then the Fairfield Glade Resident Service, Art Gill, Veterans Memorial, which is, you've probably seen a lot of press on that recently. Recreation events, Mary Jo will lead us on that one. Then food and beverage, will wind it up in, what is that, October? Yeah, so a couple of weeks we're taking off there for different events. So at this time, questions? Please.
I think you may be covering this in the future, but could you briefly outline the budgeting process, how you reconcile your mission statement to improve in the future with obvious concern to limit increases in HOA fees, and how does the budget process work, and how is it finally approved?
Okay.
The process is actually underway now. Okay, we typically start with, and if you think about it, we start with input on strategic projects first. Then we take a look, and those are usually 6 to 10 years out. Then we look at what's in the 5-year capital plan. And then we look at what do we move actually into the budgeting cycle, which is next year and the year after. So those are kind of like the 3 buckets. And we start with input, and then we move through the process. Bob works with his senior management team to work on the operating budget. The board focuses on the capital projects. Okay? And then we look at, based upon everything that we're looking to do in the years that those projects drop into, is there a need for us to increase dues to cover expenses that are going to be with us for the future? And one of the things that we did 2 years ago is we did a major salary survey of the area to make sure that, one, we're able to recruit and retain the folks that we're hiring. And so we found that we needed to raise salaries significantly in order to do that. So we did that last year and the year before. That change in salary was around $335,000 a year, okay? And that equates to about $3 in dues assessment investments, okay? Those are dollars that aren't going to go away. They're going to be with us every year going forward. And so last year and the year before, that is what got us to the $3 increase. And then when we do a $3 increase, there's a 25% goes to capital, and so that's how we get to the $4. $1 to capital, $3 to the operating expenses, okay? So we will go through that routine over the summer, and then the budget is presented right after the annual meeting. The community has about 45 days to respond to that, and then the board approves the budget, usually in the December meeting, which is like the second week of December, when we usually approve the budget. And it's an annual event, an annual calendar that we go through. Okay.
Other questions?
Is the concert on tonight?
Here, Joe. Good question.
Yes.
Rooftop, I'm like, okay.
The sidewalk is wet.
But it is on.
We've got another couple hours, right? So,
Part of our challenge with the concerts, just so everybody knows, is we have to notify the band and we have to notify the food vendors. So it's difficult sometimes coming up with, okay, is it a go or a no-go? And some of our vendors and some of our bands allow us till noontime, and then other ones want to know that morning. So sometimes we call it right. And I have to tell you a funny story. We've got friends over at WATE TV in Knoxville that are the meteorologist team over there, and I've literally called them before a concert and said, okay, guys, what do you think? And you know what they say? It could go either way. So it's a difficult call, so bear with us. We do our best.
Sort of like when you canceled the thing earlier this weekend. You canceled it the day before. Did the band in that wanted to know the day before?
Actually, that had more to do with the food vendors because they have to smoke meat. And if they had to smoke all that meat for what we were anticipating to be a very large crowd, we just couldn't put them in that position. They forced us to make that decision. And it was a 90% chance of rain on Saturday. So, it was like, okay, that's not a really tough one. But then, you never know. 90% and then it could be sunny. So yes. So I don't make that decision by myself. Abby Julian, who is our manager of recreation, she's got a lot of experience planning events, and she's usually really good about trying to figure that out. So we're always stressed on Mondays, always.
I think, isn't it in general, if it's 50% or less, we usually go, with it. But we've got to notify the musicians by 1 o'clock, I believe, that day, because a lot of them are traveling from Nashville, to come here. So that's the thing. So it's really the vendors kind of dictate when we make the call and what have you for some of these events and what have you. So.
And Abby also, throughout the event, all through the event, she's watching the weather radar and looking at what's developing and that sort of thing. And so if we see any lightning at all or thunder in the area, then you're going to get an announcement that it's in the area. And if you feel like you'd feel safer leaving, you're more than welcome to go. But we watch, just because we say it's on, that's not the end of it. We're watching it, throughout the entire event all night long. So.
Other questions?
I know the website, when you send out information, that you tell us the location, but for us that are really new, we don't even know where's Muir Lake. I don't know. Where's this lake? I don't know.
Okay.
We need a more specific location to find it.
Okay.
Yeah, like an address.
Yeah, like an address, and then we can Google our map and get there. Otherwise, we're going, yeah, that's nice, but where is it?
Okay. That's a
Good point. Yeah,
Is there a more
definitely.
detailed map than the one that Wildy hands out that shows where
I think it would be helpful if we had a more detailed map of the community that showed the community property and the various locations that are often referenced as like the square, et cetera.
The map.
Yeah.
The map out here does, right.
Yeah, there's actually,
Any good if we're at home?
yeah, there's two, actually, I think y'all have those, a smaller version of that map here at the center, don't you? That shows the points of interest? Okay, so they have those maps here at the center. Then also at the admin office, we have a street map. So it's a large fold-out, and it'll give you every street, and it also has the key areas within Fairfield Glade as well. But I think the main thing is I would check right here at the center on your way out, and I think they have a small map that kind of has the points of interest, and it really shows all the amenities. Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, it's easier, because then you can just put it into your GPS, and then you've got it forever, what have you. So, okay, yeah, we'll take that to account.
The menus don't have a physical address. You know, like the Grove here, that doesn't really have a physical address. We stay behind and we can just check it that way. Those
Right.
are very good.
Yep, okay. Other questions on this side?
Just out of curiosity, I know that the board likes to see the visitors, the guests, the timeshare and so forth, for potential future residents. But in terms of the golfing and the food and beverage, do you rely on them to make like the golfing profitable for the community or the food and beverage?
We do.
Yes.
That's really a huge advantage to being in this community with the, there's like 500 timeshare units here. And so, we love to see them. Remember, they pay higher fees for everything that they do than you do as a member or as someone would pay as a guest of yours, okay? So they're very lucrative participants in this. They usually, it's about 10 to 15% of our like-kind activity comes from them. So like when you look at the total dollars that we make like on golf, 10 to 15% of that has come from the visitors that are here. Same way with food and beverage is for timeshare is a big help with doing that. And then, of course, for all of you, 20% of the folks that are here all came through timeshares. That's how they were introduced to the Fairfield Glade community. And so it is a very target-rich environment for finding new residents. And then, obviously, when they're here, they're spending money, which helps to contribute to the operations and the budget, which is what we're always focused on.
Yeah, it's actually not just a timeshare. Also, we have a lot of golf packages. So those are people that are just coming from up north. Usually May is our busiest golf month. And that's because a lot of the northerners, they still can't get out and play golf in May. It still may be too cold or what have you, and they may even have snow still on some of the courses. And so they'll come down here, and they typically will go through a booking agency that does golf travel packages, and then they rent private condos throughout the community. And actually, only 55% of our golf revenues or golf rounds come from our members. So the other 45% are coming from member guests, golf packages, timeshare, outside tournaments, and things of that nature. So golf relies on it heavily in order to generate a profit, what have you, yeah. And food and beverage, and the golf packages, they like to spend money at the restaurants as well. So definitely all those guests and everything, they help keep your dues lower. Quite honestly, they kind of subsidize, your dues. So that's a good thing. It's kind of like the tourist coming in, paying the sales tax, for the state and what have you. So it helps keep your sales tax and property taxes lower, as well. So.
Any other questions? If not, a couple of details before we go. First, I would like to thank Jared Kirby. We didn't introduce him last time, but he's over here behind the microphone. The video will be on our website, hopefully within a week or so, I think, what I'm hearing, Bob. And also the PowerPoint presentations for every show that we go through will also be on the internet for you to look at on the Fairfield Glade website. So you'll see that communication going out soon. So next week is golf. So if you're a golfer, we look forward to seeing you next week. If you want to hang around, I had one lady ask me she couldn't find something on the website. So if you want a little tutorial on our website, I'll stay for a few minutes to do that. And I would encourage you to stay and ask Ken or Bob or me or Mary Jo any questions you may have after the meeting. If not, we're up against the hour and Jared's going to cut us off, so we'll be within that hour. Thank you, Jared. All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much.